From the newly appointed chair of the Dascoin board, Anna Hejka. As part of her speech, Anna will outline the role played by the Dascoin board of independent non-executive directors and introduce its other members who are all here today.
Good afternoon, London. Good afternoon, Great Britain. Hello, world. Let's talk about something really important that in theory has nothing to do with technology, but makes technology work. I've already told you once, but I'm going to repeat it. According to Raymond Kurzweil, the future has already arrived. We are going to go through 20,000 years of progress just in this century. And that's incredibly important. And that's one of the reasons that I have decided to join this incredible board of Dascoin. I'm so honored to be able to work with such outstanding individuals. And another reason is my husband, who got involved and pushed me into making this decision, because I've been working my whole life in the financial industry, which is incredibly conservative. So I was thinking, is this really going to be a good step? And I'm very happy I've made it, because we're all making history right now. So let's think about it. The world is made of revolutions and evolutions. And what happens is that every time that progress is blocked, there is a revolution. In my mind, progress is like another element, like air, fire, water, earth, and you cannot stop it. And every time the governments tried to stop it, the royal families tried to stop it, we had revolutions. When here in Great Britain, the first industrial revolution flourished because of peace, because of lack of tolls, because of very good laws, continental Europe was still in the Middle Ages in many different ways in terms of social structures. So we went through 50 revolutions in a few years that ended up killing tens of thousands of people. And then the world woke up, and we followed suit, and we were able to do a similar thing, and it was the age of synergy. The world was growing really, really fast. And what happened? Some of the people who were in power didn't like it, and we had the First World War, and then we had the Second World War. And 100 million people died because technology allowed them to be more efficient in trying to subdue people from achieving freedom. In 2008, the old system collapsed. And Satoshi Nakamoto wrote his manifesto, and the rest is history that you know so well. So the question I'm asking now, do we want to stop progress again? What is going to be the price we're going to have to pay? So I would like to show you two absolutely amazing people from Central Europe. Maria Skłodowska was a lady who was born in a country that didn't exist. Yet she was very patriotic. She was a woman, so she was not allowed to study. And she's the only human being who has received 2 Nobel Prizes in 2 different sciences. She was an immigrant, and she was criticized for it. And finally, she was buried as the most celebrated French citizen. What I'm trying to say is that it doesn't matter where you come from. If you really believe in something, the world is your oyster. You can do whatever you set your mind to do. Nikola Tesla went from Serbia to the US, and he has invented so many things that it was absolutely amazing. He didn't have as strong a strong position as Edison at that time. And he said one important thing: the future is going to show the truth. And he was right. Cell phones are one of the things he was actually already preparing. So what I would like to say is what Steve Jobs has said at some point of time. Here is to the crazy ones, the misfit, the rebels, the troublemakers. They're not fond of rules, and they don't respect the status quo. You can glorify them or vilify them. You can disagree with them, or you can agree. But the only thing you cannot do is ignore them, because they change things. They move the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because only people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. And guys, you are the wonderful, crazy people who are making this world a better place. So let's think about it. 12,000 years ago, we have been inventing cities. We realized that working together, we're going to be more efficient and more productive. And then as we went with the new technologies, we came to the conclusion that actually we don't need to be together to be able to communicate. And you know what? The most amazing thing has happened. Right now, 0.03% of cities generate over half of the world's GDP. This is absolutely amazing. So this whole idea that we had 12,000 years ago is still incredibly valid. So where are we now? We live in the world of digitalization, internet, remote technologies, knowledge-based economy, which actually has connected everything and everybody in one global brain, which increases the productivity and efficiency of whatever we do, and at the same time makes our life better. It increases our freedom. Only in the 17 years of this century, we have already sequenced the human genome. We have fully implemented internet, and now we're doing it with blockchain. We have implemented robotics, cell phones. The progress is really speeding up in a way which was unimaginable not that long ago. So let's think about the new lay of the land. It's becoming better on one side, but it's becoming more and more competitive. You need to be able to think exponentially, orthogonally, to be able to beat your competition. Because right now, we live in an idea economy where success is defined by the ability to turn ideas into value faster than anybody else. Is it going to be possible to have this thing work the way it should? Should I wait or should I go forward? Okay, just very quickly. 50% of S&P 500 companies, these are companies which are listed on a big index in the US, have disappeared. 40% in the last 20 years, 40% of Fortune 500 companies are going to disappear in the next 10 years. Right now, according to Boston Consulting Group, the American companies listed on exchanges, i.e. well-financed and very big, have only 33% of surviving 5 years. So if we don't do the right things with the right people, we're going to get in trouble. The average life of American company has come down from almost 70 years only a few decades ago to 15 years right now. You have to think in a way which is disruptive. You have to be fast on your feet. You have to be creative to survive. And what is the most important thing to actually make sure that we do survive? Because we can talk about examples of companies such as Kodak, which at some point of time dominated 90% of the market of films. And we can talk about Blockbuster. One, the first one, Kodak, asked for bankruptcy protection. The other one went bankrupt. They're not around anymore. So it's critical that we do things right. And governance is the key thing that will allow us to do that. It is actually a set of rules of conduct, relationships, systems and processes within which and by which we manage companies in a way which is very responsible and thought through. So it's critical that we realize that what we're doing right now is we're creating trust and reputation, which are key parameters for anybody to value our company or our ecosystem. I don't know if you realize, but the financial performance right now impacts the valuation of the company only in 33%. And as good relationship with clients, with employees, impacted as much as 89%. So right now, trust has become the most important currency of any company in the world. Therefore, I've been thinking about different principles by which we should operate as a board. And the one thing is that we need to have, and we actually did, prepare an amazing structure. We have a board composed of people that come from different continents, that have experiences in different sectors, that have gone through different cycles. And we're actually synergistic and we complement each other. And the interesting thing is that we also complement each other in terms of personalities. And that is very important because when we have open discussions, when we discuss strategy, we need to have different vantage points. We need to think differently to be able to come to a common conclusion. So the fundamental issues need to be seen from different angles. We need to analyze everything very carefully to make sure that we see the threats and the opportunities that the environment brings to us. And you know how stable that environment is right now because we're at the very beginning of a new era. So there are regulators, there are people who are scared, there are people that are enthusiastic. And that creates a lot of opportunities, but it also creates risks which need to be managed. So it's important that we communicate between ourselves or among ourselves, but we also communicate directly with clients, with employees, with people who are influential to the future of the ecosystem. And it's important that we're perceived as a company that cares. We have created a network, an ecosystem that actually, as I told you a second before, depends on perceptions. Perceptions of users, perception of regulators, developers. It's key that we communicate. And this event is critical because it's been proven that being together, not only via streaming or phones, actually makes cohesiveness happen in ways which are very, very special. But we also need to think about and the operational aspects of it, the risk management I just mentioned, and the environment, and the positioning of the company versus the competition, not only the way it is right now, but also competition doesn't exist yet, the substitutes. And we need to think about processes to make sure that we analyze potential weaknesses, which can be remedied even via changing the code. So the pillars of effective governance, the ones that create trust, are effective architecture, which we've already done. You've raised your hands. I was sitting in the first row, so I didn't see it, but I'm sure there were many more of you than just 4. It's a question of accountability. So everybody should know what and why they're doing it. It's a question of taking actions at the right time and in the right direction. But one very important thing is that we have a way of arbitrating, that we have a way of resolving disputes which are going to bring people satisfaction. They're going to be feeling that they've been treated fairly. In my mind, the best boards are the ones who are very active, who come from different angles, discuss things in a very, very open way. And the best thing would be to make sure that we have time to prepare, that we have open discussions where we're not afraid of saying what we have to say, that we discuss strategy at every meeting. And actually, the role of the board, as I perceive it, and I'm sure all the other board members think the same way, is that our role is to challenge the management. Challenge Michael. Tell him to do things even better. Make him realize what's happening around and push him to a new height. It is also very important that we become the best company in the world in our field, and that we listen very, very carefully to feedback. Because all of you have points of view, all of you have different experiences, and all of you care. I have never, ever seen in any companies that I have worked with such an incredible passion as I know you guys have, the advocates. I mean, you're working, this is your life, and I can see it every day I meet with you. So let's just think about the board. I have become the chairman recently, and I view my role, because I like to play devil's advocate, and I like to make sure things happen. And I like to make sure that we finalize certain things. So I'm going to be seeing my role as provoking people to do things and finalize and asking many questions, showing potential problems. Michael, you already know better than anybody else. And he is a visionary, a person who has worked in marketing, but also IT. He also worked for financial industry. Terry is an amazing team player. He's a mentor. He supports. He's like the glue. Actually, in every community, there should be people with different qualities, and we have that. There should be people who challenge. There should be people who integrate. There should be mavens, people that have an incredible expertise. There should be persuaders that actually are able to convince the world that something makes a lot of sense. And we have that. Sun Hawk is an amazing person who has worked with a lot of different companies. and with the governments. He's on boards of so many companies. He has an incredible insight into what's happening. Eberhard has worked for a lot of interesting companies, starting from Volvo, but also in the advisory role in terms of innovation. So his view is incredible in terms of how big corporations should work, but also he understands innovation and he knows how to make it happen. And Augustine understands the world probably better than anybody else, because he has worked in the World Bank, and he's worked with governments, and he looked at things from a macro perspective, and he understands the mechanisms that rule the world. But the unique thing about us that we are voted by the master nodes, and we have some additional responsibilities just to the responsibility of usual boards, i.e. we have to take care of the market trading store of value unit, like Dascoin. We have to think about the parameters of the non-market storage unit, which is Cycle. And we need to think about mark-to-market representative of fiat value unit, which is Web Euro. We also have to think about the architecture of the system. We need to make sure that we think through about the parameters which are being described in the white paper, to make sure that we create a system which is going to lay foundations for something really, really special. And what is the thing that we should actually achieve? We're all looking for it. It's success, it's scale, and it's sustainability. So let's think, what is the key value driver? Is it scale? Is it cash flow? Is it the speed of growth? Profitability, brand recognition, competitive advantage, ability to reinvent business, customer experience, emotions? What do you think? What's the most important thing? It's the community. It's emotions, because being together, being part of something bigger than ourselves, is part of a very important principle of human nature. And we are a community. So what makes a company great? Purpose, impact, profit, scale, sustainability. The most amazing thing right now is that if you look at companies with the largest market cap in the world, you will find out that among them, most of them are platforms. Because it seems to be that platforms are able to deliver more than any other form of a company. They can connect people, sellers, buyers, communities. And that creates an incredible value, and Terry has mentioned that already. Because we're all influencing each other. We're making each other better. We're helping people to have a better life. Bill Gross, at some point of time, started making analysis because he's seen in his investment process companies that should have been great, and they weren't. And the ones that didn't start so well, and they became great. And in his mind, the most important thing was timing. Starting at the right moment. Not too early, and not too late. But if we think about it, it's also key that we treat customers, our clients, with respect, and we give them what they need. Because this individual experience is key for somebody to want to be with us. But there's also an idea, which is very important, because if you're not better, if you're not more creative than the other people around you, then your chances of winning it big are not going to be that great. And what about business model? Being able to execute your idea. What about funding? And you know what? Among all these things, I believe that governance is the key, because it creates something which is absolutely unique, and that is corporate culture. And corporate culture is what you all represent on a daily basis, looking to realize the company's mission, putting vision into strategy, and having people realize it on a daily basis. So let's think, how do you ingrain culture into your company DNA? You need to plan harder. You need to reach deeper. You need to act instinctively. You need to connect truly. You need to think longer, incentivize wisely, clone success, and evolve with time. Do you know what that means? Practice. We need to do it over and over and over again, and then it will become our second nature. I've quoted Mahatma Gandhi already. You know that. If you think about it, it makes you act. If you act, it becomes your habit. If you have a good habit, it becomes your set of values. And you know already that your values become your destiny. So let's think what makes companies grow. You need to have fundamental principles. You have to have alignment. You have to have stability. You have to have trust. The key currency of the world right now. You have to know how to exclude people who can actually make your work much more difficult. And you have to know how to retain the best ones. And if you use these principles, you know what's going to happen? Your company is going to grow faster. And that's what we all need to do, because the board can create systems, rules, regulations, processes, but we cannot implement that without you. Because it's critical that we build trust, but trust understood in a sense that we're not afraid of saying what we really think. Because otherwise, we're going to be missing somebody who may be saying things which are really, really smart. And then another thing which is very important is to know how to quarrel, to master conflict. Steve Jobs actually has used it for the benefit of Apple. Because if you have very healthy conflict, if it's constructive, you actually achieve commitment. Because if you don't discuss things and then you say, okay, you do this and you do that, people don't care. But if you really discuss things, it happens. And then if there's commitment, if people deliver, there has to be accountability and obviously a focus on results. Sorry. So what I wanted to say is congratulations to all the dreamers and micromanagers, world changers and good doers. To dreamers, doers and drivers, to all of you, together we can do more. Because only companies able to manage and improve their service emotional performance will take advantage of fundamental truth of the human behavior. So here is to the crazy ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.